And just close your eyes. Slowly start to take notice of your breath. Start to scan your body. Notice any areas of tension you might be feeling. Try to let go of any feelings or tension that you're bringing into your practice today. And just focus your attention on your breath. Taking notice of how your breath moves through your body. If you're seated, come down to lying on your mat. Just slowly start to stretch your arms overhead, stretch out through your toes, come into a big morning stretch. Maybe invite some movement into your fingers and your toes. Maybe circle your ankles and your wrists. And then slowly hug your knees into your chest. Take a moment to pause here. Maybe stay in stillness. Maybe rock side to side. And then slowly stretch your legs up towards the sky. You can start to point and flex your toes. And come back to stillness. Bend your left knee, cross your right ankle over your left knee. You can clasp your hands behind your hamstring or your shin, come into a reclined figure 4. Take a few moments to soften into the stretch. Focusing in on your breath. Stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. And then release your hands, bring your arms out to a T, and slowly start to lower your legs over towards the left side of your mat. Gaze over your right shoulder. Focus in on your breathing. We're here for 3 more cycles of breath. And come back to center. Release your right foot down to the mat. Pause here. And hug your knees back into your chest. Extend both feet up towards the sky. Pause here. And then bend your right knee. Place your left ankle over your right knee. Clasp your hands behind your right hamstring or your shin. Come into recline figure 4. Try to invite your breath into your left outer hip and release any tension you may be feeling. Stay here for 3 more deep breaths. And release your hands. Bring your arms out to a T. Slowly drop your legs over towards the right side of your mat. Gaze over your left shoulder. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly bring your legs back to center. Bring your left knee back to, or your left foot back down to the mat. Go ahead and windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Move with your breath. Maybe you'd like to stay on one side a little longer than the other. And come back to stillness in the middle. Hug your knees in towards your chest. And slowly make your way up to a seated position. And find your way into tabletop. Bring your knees out wide, big toes together. Sink your hips down and back. Bring your arms out, stretching out in front of you. And rest your forehead on the mat. Come into child's pose. Pause here. Feel the stretch in your back. Feel the weight of your body sinking towards your heels. And slowly start to walk your hands over towards the right side of your mat. Maybe placing your left hand on top of your right. Feel the stretch in your left side body. Stay here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And walk your hands back to center and pause here. Slowly walk your hands over towards the left side of your mat. Maybe place your right hand on top of your left. Breathe into the stretch in your right side body. Stay here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And come back to center, pausing here. And make your way up to tabletop. Bring your right foot to the outside edge of your right hand. Tuck your left toes under. Lift your left knee off the mat. Slowly walk your left foot back just slightly to the back edge of your mat. Lower your left knee, untuck your toes. Stay here, feel the stretch in your left hip flexor. And slowly start to straighten your right knee. Sink your hips back, bow forward. Stretch that right hamstring. Breathe into it. And slowly bend into your right knee. Come forward. Feel the stretch in your left hip flexor. Pause here. And slowly straighten your right knee. Sink your hips back. Bow forward. Soften in to the stretch. And slowly bend your right knee. Come forward. Keep your left hand rooted down on the mat. Stretch your right arm overhead. Twist open to the right side. Stay with me for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Lower your right hand back down to the mat. Bring your right knee around, come back into tabletop. Place your left foot on the outside edge of your left hand. Tuck your right toes under, lift your right knee off the mat. Slowly walk your right foot back. Lower your right knee, untuck your toes. Feel the stretch in your right hip flexor. Take a moment to settle in here. And then slowly sink your hips back, straighten your left leg, bow forward. Feel the stretch in your left hamstring. Slowly bend that left knee, come forward, pausing here. And again, sink your hips back, straighten your left leg, bow forward. Soften into the stretch in your left hamstring. And slowly bend into your left knee, come forward. Keep your right hand down on the mat. Stretch your left arm overhead. Stretch open to the left side. Stay with me for 3 slow, deep breaths. And lower your left hand back down to the mat. Bring your left knee back to meet your right. Come back to tabletop. Pause here. Make sure your wrists are in line with your shoulders, knees are in line with your hips. Place your right foot back behind you, placing it on the mat. Slowly walk your right foot over towards the left side of your mat. Gaze over your right heel. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And walk your right foot back to center. Place your right knee back down next to your left. Stretch your left foot behind you, keeping your toes on the mat. Slowly walk your left foot over towards the right side. Gaze over your left heel. Stay here for a few slow, deep breaths. And walk your left foot back to center. Bring your left knee back down to meet your right. Bring your knees out wide, big toes together, sink back, come into child's pose. Pause here. And slowly come back up to tabletop. Place your forearms down on the mat. Palms can be down on the mat in fists. Our hands can be together in a prayer position. Tuck your toes under. Lift your hips up and back. Come into dolphin. Pause here. Feel the stretch in your calves. Make sure your weight is evenly distributed between your palms and your elbows. Stay here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And lower your knees back down to the mat. Come back to tabletop. Pause here. And lower your elbows back down to the mat. Forearms down on the mat. Palms can be face down, hands at prayer, or in fists, your choice. Tuck your toes under. Lift your hips up and back. Come into dolphin. This time we're going to stay here for 2 slow, deep breaths. And then slowly start to walk your feet back, come into a low plank. Pause here for 3 slow, deep breaths. Engage your core, tighten your quads. And slowly try to walk your feet back up to a dolphin position, closer to your body. Pausing here. And then lower your knees down to the mat. Bring your knees out wide, big toes together, sink back, come into child's pose. And slowly come back up to tabletop. Pause here. Root down through your knee, your right knee, and your right hand. Step your left foot back. Raise your left arm overhead. Option to stay here, or you can lift your left leg up to hip level or come into full side plank, your choice. Stay with me for 3 slow, deep breaths. Root down through your right hand. Feel the energy pushing up through your left fingers. And lower your left hand back down to the mat. Come back into tabletop. Pause here. Root down through your left hand and your left knee. Step your right foot back. Reach your right arm overhead. Option to stay here, or you can lift your right foot up to hip level. Option to stay here, or you can come all the way up into full side plank. Stay with me for 3 slow, deep breaths. And lower your right hand back down, come into tabletop. Bring your knees out wide, big toes together, sink back to child's pose. Focus in on your breath. And make your way back up to tabletop. Make sure your fingers are spread out wide. Pointer fingers are pointing towards the top of your mat. Your hands are about shoulder width apart. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up and back, come into down dog. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. Maybe pedal your feet, maybe come up onto your tippy toes and try to sink your hips or your heels down. Take a moment to play here. And then lift your right foot high in the air. Bring your right heel towards your buttocks. Open your hip. Take another slow, deep breath here. Straighten your right leg and thread it through for low lunge. Ground down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Keep your spine nice and straight. Shoulders are melted away from the ears. Feel the heat building in your legs. And anchor your left heel down. Bring your arms parallel to the mat. Bend into your right knee. Come into warrior two. Gaze over your right fingers. Flip your front palm. Reverse your warrior. Bring your right arm overhead. Feel the stretch in your right side body. Stay here for 2 slow, deep breaths. And slowly come back up to warrior two. Bend your right elbow. Place your right forearm on your right thigh. Extend your left arm overhead, coming in line with your ear. You have the option to stay here, or you can drop your hand down to the ground or take a bind. Stay here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And grounding down through the soles of your feet, slowly come back up to warrior two. Start to straighten your right leg. Turn your right toes towards the left side of your mat. Bring your feet parallel to each other. Bring your hands to your hips. Take a pause here. Bring your heels in towards each other, toes pointing out towards the outside edges of your mat. Sink your hips down and back. Come into goddess pose. Hands can stay here at heart center, or you can bring your arms out to cactus arms. Stay with me for 3 slow, deep breaths. Keep your spine straight. Grow tall through the crown. And slowly straighten your legs. Bring your hands to heart center. Bring your left foot parallel. Your toes are pointing towards the long side of your mat. Turn your right toes towards the top of your mat. Bend into your right knee. Stretch your arms out to a T. Come back into warrior two. Take a pause here. And slowly windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel. Step back to down dog. Pause here. And stretch your left leg high in the air. Bring your left heel towards your right buttocks, opening through your left hip. Stay here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And then straighten your left leg. Thread it through for low lunge. Pause here. Root down through the soles of your feet and slowly rise up to high lunge. Extend your arms overhead. Melt your shoulders away from your ears. Hug in through the midline, engaging your core. Feel the heat building in your legs. And anchor your right heel down. Spin your arms open to a T. Sink into your left knee. Come into warrior two. Pause here. Flip your front palm. Reverse your warrior. Breathe into the stretch in your left side body. And slowly come back up to warrior two. Bend your left elbow. Place your left forearm on your left thigh. Extend your right arm overhead, bringing it in line with your ear. Again, you have options here, so you can drop your left hand down to the mat or take a bind. Stay with me for 3 slow, deep breaths. And slowly rise back up to warrior two. Start to straighten your front leg. Turn your toes to the long side of your mat, bringing it parallel to your opposite foot. Bring your hands to your hips. Pause here. Bring your hands to heart center. Slowly sink your Hips down and back, come into goddess pose. Arms can come out to cactus arms, or you can keep them at heart center. Stay with me for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Start to straighten your legs. Turn your left toes towards the top of your mat. Bring your right foot parallel to the back edge of your mat. Sink into your left knee. Bring your arms out to a T. Come into warrior two. Pause here. And then windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel. Step back to down dog. Take a moment to pause here. And slowly walk your feet up towards your hands and bow forward. Inhale, hands to shins, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, circle sweep, arms to sky. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, root down through your left foot. Bring your right knee in towards your chest. Pause here. And slowly hinge at your hips. Start to kick that right foot back behind you. Come into warrior three. Lift your left or your right leg up higher. Hands can stay here at heart center, or you can extend them out in front of you. Stay with me for 3 slow, deep breaths. Slowly start to come forward. Bring your hands back to heart center. Don't let your right foot touch. Bring it back up towards your chest. And then slowly cross your right ankle over your left knee. Sink down, come into standing figure four. Find your drishti, find your stability. Root down through your left foot. We're here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. Start to straighten your left leg. Place your right foot back down on the mat. Inhale, circle sweep, arms to sky. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, hands to shins, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, circle sweep, arms to sky. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Root down through your right foot. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. Slowly start to tilt forward, kick your left foot back behind you. Come into warrior three. Option to keep your hands at heart center or extend them out in front of you. Try to kick that left foot higher up. We're here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And bring your hands to heart center. Slowly straighten. Don't place that left foot down. Bring it up in towards your chest. And cross your left ankle over your right knee. Sink down, come into standing figure four. Root down through your right foot. We're here for 3 slow, deep breaths. And slowly straighten your right leg. Place your left foot down on the mat. Inhale, circle sweep, arms to sky. Exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale, hands to shins, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, place your hands down on the mat. Step back to down dog. Take a moment to pause here. Inhale your right leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Ground down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Take a moment to pause here. And anchor your left heel down. Spin your arms open, come into warrior two. Pause here. Flip your front palm, reverse your warrior. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And bring your arms back to warrior two. Straighten your front leg. Hinge at your hips. Bring your right hand down to your shin or the mat or a block. Come into triangle. Stack your shoulders. Stay here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Remember to keep a micro bend in your right knee. Slowly bend into your right knee. Root down through your feet. Stand up, come into warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel. Step back to down dog. Pause here. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, thread it through for low lunge. Root down through the soles of your feet. Slowly rise up to high lunge. Take a moment, focusing on your breath, and anchor your right heel down. Spin your arms open, bring them parallel to the mat, come into warrior two. Flip your front palm, reverse your warrior. Stay here for a few slow, deep breaths. And bring your arms back up to warrior two. Slowly start to straighten your left leg. Hinge at your hips. Place your left hand on your shin or the mat. Right arm comes overhead. Come into triangle pose. Stack your shoulders. Shine your heart towards the sky. Remember to keep a micro bend in your left knee. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Slowly bend into your left knee. Bring your arms back up to warrior two. Windmill your hands back down to frame your front foot. Spin off your back heel. Step back to down dog. Take a moment to pause here. And slowly walk your feet up towards your hands. Come into forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, spine long, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, circle sweep arms to sky. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center. Bring your big toes together. Leave a little space between your heels. Slowly sink your hips down and back, come into chair pose. You have the option to keep your hands at heart center. You can extend them straight out in front of you, parallel to the mat, or you can bring them in line with your ears. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. And slowly lower your hands down to the mat, straighten your legs, come into a forward fold. Separate your feet hip distance and place your hands underneath your feet. Your palms are under the sole of your foot. Your big toes should be in the creases of your wrists. Inhale, halfway lift. And on your exhale, you can bring your elbows out to the side, yearn your heart forward, in towards your legs. Fold. Soften into the stretch in your hamstrings. Stay here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Make sure you don't have any tension in your neck. You should easily be able to shake your head yes and no. Release your hands, place them down on the mat. Your hands can come down and step back to down dog. Take a moment to pause here. Lift your right leg high in the air. Exhale, bring your right foot to the outside edge of your right hand. Lower your left knee down to the mat. Untuck your left toes. Option to stay here, or you can drop down to your elbows or a block if you have one. Your right knee can be hugging in towards your right shoulder, or you can come onto the outside edge of your right foot. Let your knee splay out to the side. Come into lizard pose. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. Relaxing. If you lower down onto your elbows, slowly rise up onto your palms of your hands. Tuck your left toes under, lift your left knee off the mat. Step back to down dog. Pause here. Lift your left leg high in the air. Exhale, place your left foot on the outside edge of your left hand. Drop your right knee down to the mat. Untuck your right toes. Option to stay here or drop your elbows down to the mat or a block. Again, you can keep your knee hugging in towards your shoulder, or you can come onto the outside edge of your left foot, letting your knee split out to the side. Find a position here that suits you and try to soften in. Remember to breathe. If you drop down onto your elbows, slowly rise back up onto your palms. Tuck your right toes under, lift your right knee off the mat, step back to down dog. Pause here and lower your knees back down to the mat, coming into tabletop. Take a moment to pause here and then come into a seated position. Sit up nice and tall, grounding down through your sits bones. And slowly inhale your arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Maybe walk your fingertips out a little further. Stay here for a few slow, deep breaths. And slowly walk your hands in towards your body. Take a moment to cross your legs the opposite way. I know it's awkward. Grounding down through your sits bones. Inhale, sit up nice and tall, circle sweep arms to sky. And exhale, fold forward, bringing your hands down to the mat in front of you. Stay here for a few slow, deep breaths. And walk your hands in towards your body. Sit up nice and tall. Stretch your feet out wide, coming into a wide leg seated position. Again, make sure you're grounding down through your sits bones. Your feet can be flexed. Make sure your thighs are externally rotated towards the back of the mat. Inhale, reach your arms overhead. Make sure your shoulders are away from your ears. Turn your torso and your belly button towards your right toes and slowly bow forward. Place your hands on the sole of your foot, the mat, or your shin. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. And slowly walk your hands up your leg, come up to a seated position. Inhale, circle sweep arms to sky. Bring your arms overhead. Shoulders are melted away from the ears. Turn your shoulders and your torso and your belly button towards your left toes. Slowly bow over your left leg. Place your hands on the sole of your foot, your shin, or the mat, and soften in. Slowly walk your hands up your left leg, come up to a seated position. Again, you can cross your legs. Bring your arms out to a T. Cross your right arm over your body. Hook your left arm under your right arm. Hug it in. Feel the stretch in your right arm and shoulder. Try to keep your spine nice and tall. Stay here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And release your hands down to your knees. Pause here. Stretch your arms out to a T. Bring your left arm across your body. Hook your right arm under your left. Hug it in. Remember to stay nice and tall through your crown. Stay here for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And release your hands down to your knees. Slowly come onto your sits bones. Knees should be pointing towards the sky. Your soles of your feet are on the mat. Slowly sink your shoulders back. Bring your knees and shins parallel to the mat. Come into boat pose. You have the option to stay here, tightening through your core. You can always drop your feet down to the mat, or you can slowly start to straighten your legs. Come into boat pose. And maybe that's not in your practice, just keep your shins parallel to the mat. Stay with me for 2 more slow, deep breaths. And lower your feet down to the mat. Come back up to a seated position. Pause here. And then slowly lower your back all the way down to the mat. Come into a supine position. Just take a moment to pause here. And stretch your right leg high in the air. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. With your hands down by your hips, root down through your left foot. Slowly lift your hips up towards the sky. We're coming into a modified bridge pose. Stay nice and rooted through your left foot. You always have the option to come into a traditional bridge pose if this doesn't serve you today. We're here for 3 more slow, deep breaths. Keep your hips pointing towards the sky. Tighten your glutes. And slowly lower all the way down. Release your right foot down to the mat. Take a moment to pause here. Extend your left leg high in the air. Cross your left ankle over your right knee. Your hands are down by your hips. Root down through your right foot. Lift your hips up towards the sky. Tighten your glutes. Come into modified bridge pose. We're here for 5 slow, deep breaths. Keep your hips up towards the sky. Remember to breathe. And slowly lower your hips back down to the mat. Release your left foot down to the mat. Take a moment to pause here. Root down through both feet. Lift your hips up towards the sky. Tighten your glutes. Come into bridge pose. You have the option to interlace your fingers, walk your shoulder blades together, opening through your heart. Stay with me for 5 slow, deep breaths. And slowly release your hands, walk your shoulders out, slowly lower your hips back down to the mat. Take a moment to pause here. Hug your knees in towards your body. Maybe rock side to side. And extend both feet up towards the sky. Hands can come down by the hips, palms can face up. We are coming into legs up the wall. You can stay here, or at this time, you can take any inversion you would like to take today, whether it be plow, shoulder stand, headstand, handstand, whatever works for you. You can also move towards a wall if you'd like and actually put your legs up a wall. Whatever you choose to do, stay with me, focusing in on your breath. We're here for 5 more cycles of breath. And slowly come out of whatever inversion you decided to do and hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe rock side to side. And then pause in stillness. Keep your right knee hugged in towards your chest. Extend your left leg out long. Pause here. Keep your left hand on the outside edge of your right knee. Extend your right arm out to a T. Lower your right knee over towards the left side of your mat. Gaze over your right shoulder. Come into supine twist. Stay here for a few slow, deep breaths. And slowly bring your right knee back to center. Give it one more hug in towards your chest. And then extend it out long. Hug your left knee in towards your chest. Keep your right hand on the outside edge of your left knee. Slowly lower your left knee over towards your right side of your mat. Your left arm can stretch out to a T. Gaze over your left fingers. Stay here for a few slow, deep breaths. And slowly bring your left knee back to center. Give it one more hug in towards your chest. And stretch your left leg out long. Pause here. And hug both knees into your chest. You can rock side to side if that feels good. Maybe reach around and grab for the outside edges of your hamstrings or your feet and come into happy baby. Take a few slow, deep breaths here. At this time, if there's anything you need to do to complete your practice today, I invite you to do so. When you're ready, you can hug your knees into your chest or make your way into Shavasana. Find a position that works for you to relax. Settle in. Make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes. Scan your body. Just take notice of any areas you're still holding on to tension. Just try to let it go. Just be in the moment exactly as it is. Let your breath move through you. Feel the weight of your body pressing against the floor. Relax in. Softening your eyes. Softening the space between your eyes. Relaxing your mouth and your jaw. Letting go of any tension in your neck and your shoulders. Softening your upper arms. Relaxing your elbows and your forearms. Softening your wrists and your fingers. Relaxing your glutes. Relaxing your hips. Softening through your thighs and your hamstrings. Relaxing your knees and your calves. Softening your ankles and your feet. Relaxing your toes. Totally relaxing and letting go. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Maybe invite some movement into your fingers and your toes. Moving your body in whatever way you feel compelled to do. And make your way over towards your right side. Take a moment to pause here. When you're ready, make your way to a seated position. Close your eyes and bring your hands to heart center. Take a moment to honor yourselves for showing up, for practicing, taking a moment out of your day to connect with your breath, relaxing in to the moment just as it is. The light in me sees and honors the light in each one of you. Namaste.